Hello everyone, welcome to today's podcast where we're discussing a very important topic of ovarian cancer with the UK's leading ovarian cancer charity, Target Ovarian Cancer, and a very special guest which some of you at DF Capital may recognise. I'm Laura Bowling, Sustainability Partner at DF Capital Bank. I lead on everything ESG, which includes looking after our charity partners, raising awareness and fundraising. It's a pleasure to be here today, albeit virtually, with some wonderful guests who I will let introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Rachel Downing. I'm Head of Policy and Campaigns at Target Ovarian Cancer. Target Ovarian Cancer was founded in 2008, and since that point, we've been focused on improving the lives for everyone affected by ovarian cancer.
Hi, I'm Nicole Coll. Many of you know me at DF Capital Bank as the Chair of the Audit Committee. However, I'm an ovarian cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2018 and came across Target Ovarian Cancer charity during my own journey. Today, I'm a patron of the charity and heavily involved in some of the fundraising initiatives that the charity undertakes.
Perfect. Welcome, guys. So let's just get straight into it. What is ovarian cancer and what are the symptoms?
So ovarian cancer is a cancer that affects the ovaries. Around 7,500 women are diagnosed in the UK every year, making it the sixth most common cancer in women. But I think despite that, there's not a lot of awareness of ovarian cancer and its symptoms. There are four key ones that we at Target Ovarian Cancer want everyone to be on the lookout for. The first is bloating. So that's not everyday bloating. That's not bloating that comes and goes. That's that persistent bloating. The second is abdominal or sort of tummy or pelvic pain. The third is feeling full when you're eating or kind of a loss of appetite. And the fourth one is an increase in urinary frequency. So that might be needing to go for a wee more often or more urgently than you've previously been used to.
Some of the symptoms you've discussed there are maybe potentially something that people experience daily and just brush off as something else. Is there enough awareness of these symptoms and just awareness of ovarian cancer overall?
Yes, absolutely. I think at Target Ovarian Cancer, we believe we have an awareness crisis on symptoms of ovarian cancer across the UK. They are, as you said, symptoms that are quite often put kind of against other things. So people might think that it's menopause or IBS. And we know from research we've undertaken that very, very few women across the UK know these symptoms. So when we've surveyed, just 1 in 5 women can name bloating for a symptom as an example. So we know there's a lot of work we need to do and we all need to do together to really get that symptoms awareness up.
And if someone is worried about having these symptoms themselves or knows someone that is, what should they do about it?
So the very first thing to say is your GP will want to see you if you have those symptoms. And the crucial thing is, are these symptoms new for you? So are they things you've not regularly experienced in the past? And are they persistent? So by that, we mean, have they been going on for about 3 weeks or more? If that's the case, you really need to make an appointment with your GP. And it can be really helpful that if you tell them when you make that appointment that you're worried that it might be ovarian cancer or cancer, because it helps them take the symptoms seriously. The second thing you can do is go onto Target Ovarian Cancer's website. We've got a whole range of information and a symptoms diary, which is something that could be really helpful in tracking those symptoms, as well as a nurse support line who are always available for anyone that's got any concerns about symptoms or anything else to do with ovarian cancer and would really like to talk it through.
They sound like really great resources there, Rachel. Thanks for pointing people in the direction of them. Aside from symptoms, are there other risk factors for people?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest risk factors is age. So it is more common in generally women over 50, but sort of more specifically women who have gone through the menopause. And the second one to really be aware of is family history. There is around 20% of ovarian cancers are caused by hereditary genetic markers. Of that, the most common that lots of people might have heard of is the BRCA gene. So there's BRCA1 and BRCA2, and those genes are very strongly linked to both ovarian and breast cancer. So if you've ever got any of history of that in your family, either ovarian or breast, it's always a good idea just to go and have a chat with your GP, because there is testing available to find out if you carry that gene, and that's really important knowledge to have.
Yeah, absolutely. People should definitely be going to their GPs on this. You mentioned, obviously, there's higher risk groups with age, but unfortunately, anybody is at risk. Combined with the symptoms that may feel like everyday symptoms, are there any misconceptions of ovarian cancer?
Yeah, I think you've hit on one of the big ones there. Age can be a bit of a misconception. So just because it is most common in women over 50 doesn't mean that it can't happen at any age. And that's why that symptoms awareness is important for everyone to know, not just at age, but any gender. Everyone needs to know these symptoms because they're just not talked about enough. And a second misconception that we work really hard to address is that cervical screening will detect for ovarian cancer. So we know that 40% of women across the UK, when we've surveyed, believe that cervical screening detects for ovarian cancer. That's quite a dangerous misconception, because if you are attending your screening appointments and you get the all clear for precancerous cells of cervical cancer, there's then a very kind of dangerous assumption for awareness that you might be clear for all the other gynecological cancers, including ovarian. So we need to know, women to know exactly what that tests for and what it's not testing for, and that doesn't mean that you're getting that all clear right across all the gynecological cancers.
That is a really big misconception then, that testing accounts for everything and actually you need specific tests for ovarian cancer. I want to come over to you now, Nicole, and are you able to share your story on why and how you're involved with target ovarian cancer?
Thanks, Laura. I'm involved with target ovarian cancer because I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer in 2018. And listening to Rachel talk about some of the symptoms really makes me reflect back on my own experience. Interestingly, of the 4 symptoms she described, I really only had one, bloating. And again, reflecting back now with the benefit of hindsight, I probably should have known that something was wrong, but didn't really address it in a timely manner. I definitely, most of you who know me from DF Capital know that I'm relatively short, so I'm only just over 5 foot, and I've always struggled with my weight. So when I experienced persistent bloating, I put it down to struggling with my weight. I wasn't in the age bracket that is most common for target ovarian cancer. I was in my early 40s with 2 young children and a busy career, so never really took time for myself. I did go to my GP actually because I'd been struggling with my weight and couldn't understand why I was putting on weight rather than losing weight. Even so, I was being very careful. Initially, I thought maybe it was a thyroid problem, and they sent me for some blood tests related to that, which came back all clear. And things got progressively worse, and eventually I ended up in A&E actually, having severe stomach pain, really bloated. I looked like I was about 9 months pregnant. I even had someone say to me at one point, "Congratulations on the baby," and I was mortified. I had no idea what to say, even so I wasn't pregnant at all. And things kind of spiraled from there quite quickly. They discovered that I had 2 tumors as well as over 6.5 liters of fluid that had built up on my stomach from the tumors. And then I was very lucky, very quickly had surgery and treatment thereafter. But at the time, I knew nothing about ovarian cancer. It never even crossed my mind that it could be ovarian cancer. And I certainly had never heard of the CA-125 blood test, which actually, as things progressed, my GP did think to do that test and was definitely fundamental to my ultimate diagnosis.
Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. And I'm very happy that they've found those test results and you're here with us today to talk about it and spread this awareness. Rachel, on diagnosis then, how important is early diagnosis and early treatment of ovarian cancer?
It's absolutely crucial. So Nicole's story is one that we still hear all too often, an emergency visit to A&E rather than being diagnosed through your GP. The difficulties in getting diagnosed is something that target ovarian cancer is really laser focused on addressing. And we know that if a woman is diagnosed at the earliest stage, which you'll hear referred to as stage 1, 9 out of 10 will survive. So if we can get to that point, that would be absolutely transformative for everyone diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And just put simply, the earlier an ovarian cancer is diagnosed, the easier it is to treat. So even if you can't get it at that very early stage, if you can get it earlier or even faster when someone might not be too sick with the disease, so it can make you feel quite unwell. I'm sure you experienced that, Nicole, as you went on. It's that we need to get people into treatment as absolutely quickly as we can. There is no screening for ovarian cancer, so we talked a little bit earlier on about the fact that cervical screening doesn't detect for it. So while we have no screening, the very best weapon we have to get that early diagnosis is that symptoms awareness, and we need much more awareness of ovarian cancer.
And if I can jump in and just add, I think another misconception, I think, is probably that people think that if they have problems with menstruation or potentially period pain, that could be a sign of something. But actually, I never had any symptoms like that, at all. So there was no sign other than the bloating that anything was really wrong.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think these symptoms are symptoms that everyone has who hasn't been bloated in their life at some point. Where we need to move forward on that is that persistent and feeling able, and we at Target Ovarian Cancer are focused on empowering women to feel confident in that if something is wrong with your body, and we always say, if anyone's ever concerned, you know your body best, regardless of what the symptom is, you know your body best. And if something is new for you and you're concerned about it, that's the point that absolutely you need to go to your GP and advocate for yourself to get it investigated.
Yeah, so on the symptoms, it's not that the 4 big symptoms you will potentially experience all of them. You may just experience one. And like for Nicole, it was bloating, and that's something that you can experience in life anyway. But when you know something's wrong, you should go to your GP.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, in my case, definitely, there was a period about 6 months prior to my diagnosis where I just knew that something wasn't quite right. I mentioned that I did go to the GP and they did some thyroid testing, etc. But there was definitely a period of at least 6 months where I was persistently feeling unwell, just feeling bloated, not great, and I knew that something wasn't quite right. I think a lot of people put bloating down to IBS. So I thought, I'd never had IBS, but I guess in my head I was like, maybe it's something I'm eating, maybe I need to change my diet, and none of those things helped. But equally, fundamentally, I knew that something just wasn't quite right.
And that's why the work of Target Ovarian Cancer is vitally important, to raise awareness and empower women to be able to make these decisions and go to the doctors and seek help. Rachel, can you tell us some more about the work that Target Ovarian Cancer are doing, some of the campaigns?
Yeah, so at Target Ovarian Cancer, we target what's important to really transform the lives of everyone affected by ovarian cancer. And there are 3 specific areas that we work on. The first, which we've talked a lot about today, is early diagnosis. So we work very closely with the government around trying to get awareness campaigns funded. So we as a charity spend a lot of our time trying to raise awareness ourselves, but what we really need to see is continued government funding for NHS awareness campaigns. We want the symptoms of ovarian cancer to be impossible to miss. We want you to get off a train and see a billboard. We want you to turn on a radio and see an advert, because we truly believe that's the only way we're going to begin to shift the dial truly on awareness. And early diagnosis, we talked a lot about GPs. GPs are absolutely vital. So the first stage of getting a diagnosis is going to your GP. The second stage is then your GP knowing what to do. So there are 2 tests. So Nicole mentioned one. There's a blood test called CA125, and then an ultrasound scan can be ordered. We know those tests to be ordered very quickly, and we need them to be the results of those back quickly. And crucial to that is GPs knowing what to look out for. So we have a GP education program that looks to educate GPs both on the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer and the referral pathway they need to take if they've got concerns. We also have a wonderful support service. So we talked earlier in the episode about our nurse support line, but we offer patient information, some online support groups, so that everybody, and that's not just for those directly affected, it's for friends and family as well, who want more support or some information about what ovarian cancer might mean for them or their diagnosis or their treatment pathway. You can access all of that on our website. And the final thing we focus on is we fund research. So obviously we mentioned there's no screening test. We know that we need a better diagnostic pathway. We know that we need screening ideally, and we know that new and better treatments are always needed. So that's our kind of third area, is what can we do to try and make that happen through the research space.
Amazing. And a key part of what you do is your philanthropists, and Nicole herself is one. Nicole, are you able to talk a little bit more on your role and what you do?
Sure, I'd be delighted to. So it all started out post my recovery and treatment. We decided to throw a big party to celebrate my recovery. So I had a bash at home with some lady friends to celebrate my successful recovery. The subsequent year, we decided that given that March is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month and Mother's Day is in March, we should, instead of doing the traditional going out for a meal, as nice as that might be, to do something to celebrate the fact that I was still here, but equally to do something meaningful for the charity. So we organised a charity auction event, and sadly, that sort of is just when lockdown hit. So actually, I think my then 11 or 12-year-old did a live stream podcast himself of a charity auction, which we raised some funds, and it kind of developed from there. When my two children started high school, they decided that a great way to raise funds and awareness was to do a Krispy Kreme fundraising sale on an annual basis. And DF Capital know all too well because I've shipped some donuts to the office. But between them in their respective schools, raising awareness, and we chose donuts because they're round like an ovary, and Krispy Kreme have a great charity program as well. But I think over the last 5 years, between them in a variety of different forms and guises, they've sold over 15,000 Krispy Kremes and raised the best part of £50,000 for target ovarian cancer. And hopefully that money, as Rachel said, is being put to use in a number of really important ways.
That is just incredible, Nicole. Well done to your children as well for carrying on this work and raising awareness too. And we do love the donuts at DF Capital, so thank you for them as well. Rachel, how can other people get involved in fundraising?
So there are lots of opportunities for people to get involved in fundraising across the charity. If you're a runner or even a walker, we have lots of either own events or events that you can take part in on our behalf. If you're not a runner, we've got a wonderful community fundraising team who can guide you through anything from bake sales to dress-up days in the office, as well as a whole host of other ways of getting involved in fundraising. So do have a look at Target Ovarian Cancer's website, and it'll give you a glimpse of kind of all the different ways that you can get involved.
Laura, I'm feeling a takeover, overdressed event coming on at DF Capital. They have a big charity initiative called
Overdressed,
yes, where people get overdressed. So I can see that as an opportunity for us at DF Capital to maybe get dressed up in the office sometime soon.
That sounds great, and I'm sure so many people in DF Capital will want to take part of that and show off their overdressed looks and raise money for target ovarian cancer at the same time. And the 8th of May is World Ovarian Cancer Day. How can people get involved in that?
World Ovarian Cancer Day is such a fantastic opportunity to really get that awareness up and share the message. So we'd really ask people to go to all of our social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We'll have lots of assets there around awareness. So if people can help us by sharing those and getting that word out far and wide.
And they can find you at Target Ovarian Cancer.
They can, yeah, across all platforms.
So that's it today. I just want to say thank you so much to our guests for joining us, to Rachel for sharing her wonderful knowledge and helping us raise awareness for ovarian cancer, and Nicole for sharing your story. The work you both do as part of the charity and the work Target do is just incredible, and it is vitally important that we are here today to raise your voice and to raise awareness. Thank you both.
Laura, if we may, thank you for being a fantastic host, and my huge thanks to DF Capital for supporting this initiative. I'm very grateful for all of your support, but I know that Target Ovarian Cancer are hugely appreciative of the opportunity to make this podcast for the benefit of DF Capital employees, but equally to spread the word and awareness of the symptoms. And even if this just reaches one person, we'll have done some good today. So thank you too for being a fantastic host.
Yes, thank you so much, Laura, the whole team at DF Capital for giving this chance. I would say anybody listening to this, your job immediately is go and tell all of your friends and family those 4 key symptoms. So bloating, tummy pain, feeling full and urinary urgency, and make sure you also tell them that cervical screening doesn't detect ovarian cancer.
Yes, very important point to end on there. And if there's anything in this podcast that people want more information on, I'm sure there'll be a link in a description box. Or if not, go to targetovariancancer.org.uk for the information.